There's been an outpouring of support for the Russian-Israeli academic Elizabeth Tsurkov, who's been held hostage in Iraq since March. The Israeli government revealed last night that Tsurkov had been kidnapped during a visit to Baghdad. She's believed to be in the hands of Kataib Hezbollah, a powerful Iraqi Shiite militia that gets financial and military support from Iran. Well, Arash Azizi, himself an academic at New York University, is the author of The Shadow Commander, a book about the late General Soleimani, and is a colleague of Elizabeth Tsurkov. So we're also joined by Intifad Kambar. He was the spokesman for the former Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq. He's now the president of the Future Foundation, Washington, D.C. Good evening to you both. Thank you very much for being with us. Arash, first of all, given what you know about Elizabeth, why do you think she made the decision, the very dangerous decision, to travel to Baghdad?
She had a lot of links in the region and was very brave and had worked in, several places near war, which is the case for a lot of us doing any work in the Middle East. It's not like it's safe to travel for a lot of us to large parts of the Middle East, unfortunately. Including countries like Lebanon, Iraq, Syria. Her doctoral dissertation was on Sadrist movement, or at least included sections of the Sadrist movement in Iraq, and I think she knew that to get the kind of information that she needed, to do the kind of research that she needed to be in Iraq. So she took this decision, and she had gone to Iraq more than 10 times in recent years, including the Kurdish areas, Mosul, and recently, since last year, Baghdad. So it wasn't the first time.
She is a very well-respected academic. You can see that from the outpouring of support for her online today. Intifad Kambar, what do we know about the group holding Elizabeth? What do you think they have made in terms of demands in exchange for her freedom, if they have indeed made any?
Well, Laura, I must tell you, this is a very personal thing to me. My nephew was a U.S. soldier kidnapped by Kataib Hezbollah in 2006, and took me 6 years of agonizing search for him. I even met with the terrorist kidnappers inside U.S. prison in custody of U.S. military. So I sympathize completely, and I pray for her safety, and I sympathize completely with the family of Ms. Tsurkov. I think the biggest mistake, and I'm not trying to hold anybody accountable, but the biggest mistake to think that Iraq is a safe place. People watch social media, YouTube, Facebook, and see some foreigners in the streets of Baghdad or touring Iraq. It's kind of a cheap propaganda by Iran to give a face that Iraq is a stable place. Iraq is not a stable place. Iraq is a very dangerous place. I would say that the only safe place in Iraq is Kurdistan under Masoud Barzani's control, which is Erbil and Duhok. The rest of Iraq is a very, very dangerous place. And I don't recommend for any American or any Western to go to Iraq. I have many friends who've been invited to conferences in Baghdad. I kept telling them, listen, your timing is different from the timing of the terrorist militias. But I also think that Israel is one of the best countries who knows how to deal. It probably not in the world, in the history of mankind, how to deal with terrorism. You've been living with terrorism for since the inception of Israel in 1948, and you know what terrorism is like. But make no mistake, this woman is being held by Iran. Those militias are puppets. They are answerable to Iran, and the Iranians will use her as a leverage to negotiate or get something. I just wish that she will have a better ending than what happened to my nephew in Iraq. And I wish she would continue to stay alive and she would return to her family safe and happy ending. I repeat, Iraq is a very dangerous place, and don't believe the U.S. administration here putting out a propaganda that Iraq is safe and stable. It is not safe.
Okay, and Arash, there are some fears that Elizabeth may be transferred to Iran. Do you think that's a possibility?
It's a possibility, but it's also likely that they'll keep her in Iraq. But more important than that, Kataib Hezbollah is very much, I wouldn't say controlled by Iran, but it's almost controlled by Iran, has very close ties to IRGC. And what I hope happens, and what could and should happen, is for Russia and United States and Israel, countries that after all do have close relations. I mean, Russia and Israel have close military security relations, on many issues. They could come together in a humanitarian cause to release this woman who is in no way someone who is linked to any state agendas, who is an academic with so much passion for people of the region. You can see already so much outpouring from Lebanese, from Palestinians, from Syrians for her and for her colleague, and from her colleagues in Israel. So the key thing here is for these three states to come together in a humanitarian cause and try to release someone who is the citizen of two of them, Russia and Israel, but also obviously has close ties to the United States, as a student of Princeton, whose statement today was really strange in how short and sort of laconic it was. And also she was she worked with New Lines Institute, a think tank in Washington. So
yes.
One hopes that America will take this American link seriously and try to bring this young woman home.
Right, absolutely. And Intifad, she has been very critical of all the countries which kind of now hold her fate in their hands, Iraq, Russia and Israel. Do you think that will impact on her chances for being released? And should the United States do more to put pressure on Iraq to bring her home?
Look, I don't want to make it a secret. I've heard about her kidnapping weeks ago, and I didn't talk about it in the media for her safety, and I didn't think I should say anything irresponsible. But this is a very dangerous situation. Iran will, being an Israeli citizen, Iran will use it as a leverage. And I think the United States, yes, could play a big role, but make no mistake, the Iraqi government is helpless. The Iraqi government is a puppet government, belongs to Iran. From the prime minister down, they're not going to help with her release. There's going to be probably an interface on behalf of Iran. So again, this is a very alarming situation. Few months ago, an American preacher who was a peaceful preacher was killed in a very brutal way in the middle of Baghdad in daylight. So that again reflects how dangerous Baghdad is. Maybe it's quiet, but it doesn't mean it's safe. Mm-hmm. And terrorists will always choose their timing of attack. My understanding, they were following her from the get-go. They learned that she was Israeli, and they basically kidnapped her in a very well organized operation that it was very well planned.
Okay, Intifad.
So, but I think she underestimated the danger, unfortunately.
Intifad Kambar, Arash Azizi, thank you very much to you both.